So, the I will just repeat 2, 3 lines. So the gut is entirely a gut is entire digestive system extending from the mouth to the anus, including the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine. Gut should not be seen as a simple digestive tube whose job is only to break down food. Rather, it is a master regulatory organ which controls it communicates basically with your immune system, with your hormonal system, with your metabolic system, and even with the brain. So, digestion is just one of its primarily role. The gut decides how well we absorb the nutrients, or how the immune system responds, or how the inflammation is controlled, or how the hormones behave, and even how the brain will process the signals like the mood, the stress, and everything. So, this is why two people having a same food will have completely different outcomes. One may heal, the other may develop symptoms. And most chronic conditions do not begin with a hormonal imbalance or an immune disorder. They are usually a downstream effect. So when I say so, that means the problem often starts earlier at the level of gut dysfunction, like poor digestion or impaired absorption or barrier damage. And when the gut loses its regulatory capacity, the entire body becomes a dysregulated. So that is why we should always begin the healing at the gut, because when the gut functioning improves, multiple systems start correcting simultaneously, right? So, digestive physiology. So, digestion is basically a biological process and not just eating food. So, digestive physiology is a process by which the food is first broken down and then absorbed and finally converted into cellular nutrition. So, this is very important as food does not equal nutrition unless the digestion works properly. So, a plate, if I just give you an example, a plate can look perfect, but if the digestion fails or the body behaves as if the nutrients were never consumed. So, the digestion happens in not one go, it happens in three separate biological steps. Like the first one is the digestion. So, digestion means breaking your food down into small particles. Like the proteins must become amino acids, the carbohydrates must become simple sugar, and fat must become fatty acids. Second is the absorption. So, absorption is when these small molecules pass through the gut lining and enter the bloodstream. If the lining is inflamed or damaged, or nutrients may never, if the gut lining is damaged, so the nutrients never reach to the blood, even if the digestion was adequate. And third is the assimilation. So when this is when the cells actually take up the nutrients and use them for energy, repair, hormone production, and healing. So, any kind of inflammation or insulin resistance or cellular stress can block this step. This is why when someone eats a clean diet or a well-planned diet, but still can feel a fatigue or a deficiencies, so failure at any of one step results in symptoms despite of a good diet. So instead of asking what someone is eating, we must also ask how well the body is processing it. Okay. Okay. So, digestion, the core science. So, what digestion depends upon? It depends upon multiple biological signals work together. So, the first and very important is the stomach acid. So, as it prepares the protein for digestion or activation of enzymes, or protects us from pathogens. So, if a low stomach acid is one of the most common and most misunderstood cause of digestive systems. Second is the digestive enzymes. So enzymes are responsible for breaking the food into the absorbable molecules. Without enough enzymes, food may enter the gut but cannot be processed correctly. And third is the bile flow. So the bile is essential for the fat and fat digestion and absorption. When the bile is sluggish, fat feel heavy, stools may change, or inflammation may increase. Fourth factor is the gut motility. So the movement of food through the digestive system. Food must move for at a right pace, like the peristalsis. So if it moves slow, so it sits and ferments, and if it moves too fast, so the nutrient absorption will hardly happen. So when the digestion is weak, the food is not properly broken down, and instead of digestion, or fermentation occurs, or this fermentation produces gas or heaviness or further discomfort. Okay. So, poor digestion is often a signaling problem rather than a food intolerance. The food may not be the issue, but the body may simply not be receiving the correct signals to digest it properly. Okay. So, next is the gut lining. So gut lining is one of the most important structures. It is made up of one cell thick enterocytes. So this means that there is only one layer. Just a second, I will just. Suno bhaiya, excuse me. Go to your hospital, go. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's okay. Hello? Sorry. So, yeah, so gut lining. Gut lining is the most important structure. It is made up of one cell thick layer of enterocytes. This means that is the only single layer of cells separating the entire outside world from the bloodstream. So everything we eat, we drink, are exposed to in the gut and must pass through this lining before it enters the body. Because of this, the gut lining acts as a selective barrier. It decides what is allowed, like nutrients, and what must not be allowed, like the toxins or the pathogens or the undigestible food particles. So when this barrier is healthy, uh, the absorption is efficient and controlled. But when it is damaged, even on a good diet, it cannot provide with a proper nutrition. Okay. So this leads to one of the most important principle that absorption matters more than the intake. So you can eat the best food, you can have the best supplements, but if the gut lining is inflamed or compromised, those nutrients will never reach to the cells. Uh, as we talk about enterocytes, so enterocytes are primarily the cells that make up the gut lining, and they play a much larger role than the nutrient absorption. So first, the enterocytes are responsible for absorbing the nutrients. So every amino acid, vitamin, mineral, or fatty acid must pass through these cells to reach the bloodstream. Even if the enterocytes are unhealthy, So the nutrients may be present in the food, but they never reach to the body. Second thing is the enterocytes produces digestive enzymes at their surface. So these enzymes help complete the final step of digestion, especially the carbohydrates, the protein. But if the enterocytes are damaged, so the digestion may be incomplete, the stomach, even when the stomach and the pancreatic enzymes are adequate. And third is the enterocyte supports the immune signaling. So they constantly communicate with the immune cells in the gut, helping the immune system decide what is safe and what is harmful. Healthy enterocytes promote tolerance, and damaged one promotes immune activation. And fourth is the enterocytes maintain the gut integrity. So they form a physical wall that keeps the harmful substances out of the bloodstream. Their tight connections are essential for controlling the permeability. So when the enterocytes are damaged due to any reason like the stress, the inflammation, or the infection, or the toxins, two things can happen simultaneously. One is the malabsorption and other can be the inflammation. So this is why many chronic symptoms coexist with nutrient deficiencies, but the problem is not always that what the person is eating. The problem can be with the health of the enterocytes themselves. Uh, okay, so this we discussed last time also. The tight junctions are like the gatekeepers. So basically, tight junctions are specialized structures that hold the gut cells tightly together. So they are located at the point where one enterocyte meet another, forming a controlled seal, which regulates what can pass between the cells into the bloodstream. And these junctions act like a gatekeeper apart from completely sealed. So it regulates the intestinal permeability, deciding what is allowed to pass and what must be blocked. So in a healthy gut, this tight junctions allows small, properly digested nutrients to pass through while preventing the large and the undigested food particles or the toxins or microbes to entering in the blood. So this is regulated by a specific proteins, and the most common ones are like claudin, which determines how tight or loose the barrier is, occludin, which help to seal the junctions, and ZO proteins like zonula proteins, which acts like a support rods to the internal surface of the cells. So when these proteins function properly, the gut barrier is selective and protective. But when their regulation is disturbed by say anything like inflammation or stress or infection, the gate keeping function is lost. So that is why why the tight junction health is very, very essential when it comes to gut health balance. So, leaky gut, we know what is it. So, leaky gut is a term used to describe the increased intestinal permeability. This occurs when the tight junctions between the gut lining cells loosen more than they should, and stay open for longer times. So, when this happens, substances that should never enter the bloodstream are able to pass through. And these can include, again, same, the undigested food particles, the toxin, or the bacterial fragments. So once these substances enter the circulation, the immune system immediately recognizes them as a foreign agent, and this triggers the immune activation or inflammation even though no external infection is present. So one thing is important here is that gut is leaky gut is not a diagnosis, it is a physiological state. So, when I say physiological state, basically the functional breakdown in the gut barrier. So, this state can exist silently over years, driving the inflammation, food reactions, or autoimmune conditions and metabolic dysfunction even before the formal disease appears. So, when the barrier is repaired, many of the symptoms like they begin to resolve automatically. Okay. So, common triggers are usually because of the lifestyle, because of the gut environment inflammation. So, one of the major trigger is the chronic inflammation. So, when the gut lining is constantly exposed to inflammatory signals, tight junction protein loses their ability to stay tightly regulated. Second is the stress hormones, especially cortisol. So, chronic physiological stress shifts the body into a survival mode. So, where the digestion and the barrier repair is deprioritized. Even over a time, the cortisol directly weakens the gut barrier integrity. Third is the infection and dysbiosis. So they are like powerful triggers. An imbalance in the gut microbes or the presence of pathogens produces toxins that disrupts the tight junction proteins and damage the enterocytes. Then is the poor diet, environmental toxins further give a burden to the gut lining, like highly processed food, alcohol or additives or chemical exposures. They all irritate the gut lining and promote the permeability. Uh, Last is the nutrient deficiencies. So, like vitamin B6, vitamin B12, omega 3. So, these are basically what we counter usually when it comes to like gut health repair. So, the gut lining is one of the fastest renewing tissue in the body. And without adequate nutrients, the regeneration is like it's incomplete. So this results in immune activation also, chronic low-grade inflammation also. So if this ongoing inflammation becomes sometimes a driver behind the food reactions or the hormonal disturbances or many of the chronic other issues. Food reactions is not always the food allergies. So one of the most important difference is between the food allergy and the food sensitivity is that the food allergy is a typical immediate. So it is mediated by like Ig antibodies, usually we test also, and can cause a rapid symptoms like hives, like swelling, like breathing difficulties. Food sensitivity, on the other hand, is very different. So it is usually delayed. The symptoms appear like anywhere between 24 to 72 hours after eating the food. And because of this delay, people often do not connect these symptoms with the food directly. That's one. Then is the food sensitivities are basically gut driven and are inflammation based. So they occur when a compromised gut lining allows a food particle to enter the bloodstream, triggering the immune response that is slow and more susceptible, more subtle than allergy. So this is why the symptoms of the food sensitivities are often vague and varied, like bloating हो गया, fatigue हो गया, skin issues हो गए, joint pain, headache, brain fog maybe. But removing food may reduce the symptoms temporarily, but until and unless the gut integrity and immune tolerance are restored, new food reactions often develops. So what are those like food reactions or the food multiply? So we call it as a tolerance problem. So why the food reaction often seems to keep increasing over time? So, very simple, like when the gut lining is healthy, the immune system is taught tolerance. So, it learns that the food particles are safe and should not trigger a reaction. However, when a leaky gut develops, so the food antigens that should never enter the bloodstream begin to leak through. The immune system sees these particles in a wrong place and interprets them as a threat. So, as a result, the immune system reacts by producing inflammatory responses and antibodies. So, at first, this may happen only with one or two food, but as the gut permeability continues and inflammation persists, more food begin to trigger the symptoms. And this is why this is not actually because of the food themselves, but it is because of the immune system has lost the tolerance power. So, client may always say, like earlier, only the wheat was bothering or the milk was bothering. Now, everything, almost everything is giving a discomfort. So, when everything causes reaction, so tolerance is lost. And this is how people usually skip one, two, three, four, karke, everything from the diet, and then they come on a very, very restricted diet. So, simply removing food is not a long-term solution. The focus must shift to restoring the gut barrier integrity and calming the immune activation so the tolerance can rebuild. Okay. So, uh, certain symptoms tell us uh, that we should stop focusing on only diet plans and start assessing the gut functions. So, one of the most common red flags is the chronic bloating and gas. And when this happens, like regularly, it usually indicates poor digestion, fermentation, or impaired gut motility, not overeating. So people usually confuse it with the overeating, ki zyada khaya hoga, but uh, then the another major red flag is the multiple food intolerances. So when a person keeps removing food because of it seems to cause symptoms, it point out basically to the gut barrier damage or the loss of immune tolerance. Next can be a poor response to a diet plan. Cannot be can also be a key signal when when you make a diet plan and you know that he or she is following sincerely, but then you see a little improvement, or the issue is rarely like with the motivation or discipline. It is more often with the digestion or the absorption or the inflammation that is blocking the process. Then is the fatigue. So, despite giving supplement, is another common thing. It usually suggests that the nutrients are either not being absorbed properly, even when you're giving like bilkul mild forms of supplements, then also. So, and not being utilized at the cellular level. Next is the presence of autoimmune responses or chronic inflammatory conditions where we recognize that the immune dysregulation is often gut oriented. So, poor response equals to functional failure, not the compliance failure. It's not like that the person is not following, but it is kind of a functional failure which is not supportive by the gut. Okay. So, what can be the nutrition logic then? So instead of asking only what food is causing the problem, we explore what functioning is failing. So first is the digestive capacity. Can the body be properly breaking down the food? You can ask questions like any heaviness after meals or something like that. So Uh, Maybe the person is using antacid or something. So using stomach acid or the enzyme or looking at to the pattern of their labs, you can very well assess the digestion, especially the chloride and other things. If the digestion is weak, food becomes a stressor rather than a nourishment. Next is we look up to the barrier integrity. Is the gut lining intact? Like there are tests like zonulin and other tests. So you can do if, I mean, the problems are too much. So that ways you can see. So a barrier damage changes the immune behavior and drives inflammation. Third is the immune tolerance. So, is the immune system calm or is it overreacting to the normal foods, like looking into the HSCRP or some levels? You can obviously get to know. Loss of tolerance is a major driver for food sensitivities and autoimmune patterns. And finally, we can assess the inflammation load, like chronic low grade inflammation disrupts the digestion, the hormone metabolism, and the cellular repair. So, if the inflammation remains high, so the healing cannot be possible. So, this leads to the core principle, which is fix the gut first and symptoms will follow. Okay, so first takeaway is the digestion decides nutrition. It is not that what we eat nourishes us. It is basically what the body can digest, absorb, and assimilate. Uh, then, without proper digestion, even with the best diet, cannot create a health. Second is the gut lining controls the immunity. So this is the single cell barrier which decides what enters the bloodstream and how the immune system responds. So when the barrier is healthy, the immune response remains calm and tolerant. But if not, then the other cycle will follow. Third is the leaky gut drives the food reactions. So the food sensitivities are often caused by food itself, but by a compromised gut barrier that allows immune activation. And finally, many chronic diseases begins in the gut. Hormonal imbalance, autoimmunity, metabolic dysfunction, chronic inflammation are frequently downstream effects of long-standing gut dysfunctions. And the healing always begins in the gut. So when the gut function improves, multiple systems start correcting themselves. And this is what is called is a true healing, which is possible. So remember that when you understand that the gut, many symptoms start making sense. So it is very important that you should have a healthy gut lining for a healthy absorption, assimilation, and every possible thing which you are looking for. Uh, so this was it for today. Any questions? Anything you want to ask?
I think we'll go through once, the PDF that you have sent.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
probably we'll have questions.
So you can go through the notes also, and you can go through the PDF also. And I will share the recording also in case you want. And
Yeah.
then if you have any questions, we can discuss it before the next class. So
Sure.
like 5
Ma'am,
minutes before.
may I ask
Yes.
one question, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, when you say that this enterocyte layer, uh, when the food enters the intestine, does it cross this enterocyte layer directly, like the nutrition directly goes into the bloodstream,
If
or
the
there's an
food, because the digestion to starts at your mouth level,
yeah,
so
yeah.
if that particular thing is in that solution, obviously that will pass because that's the first layer. ठीक है. In case the gut, the tight junctions are open because of that leaky gut. So whatever undigested food particles, supposingly at a first step, like at a stomach level, so the pepsin support is not coming. है ना? So what directly that will bypass to the next step.
So
As
it
we
will enter
all
the
know, it will
it'll enter the
enter
bloodstream only. After
bloodstream
enterocyte layer,
only.
it will enter
Yes,
directly to the
yes,
bloodstream.
yes.
And then the
I will share a diagram with you so
yes,
that you
yes, would be
can
great, ma'am.
see.
Yes, yes.
Because usually I don't keep pictures in the presentation. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is that it is a theory part.
Yeah.
These are not fascinating PPTs.
Mm-hmm. No,
So that's why. But definitely, I will share a picture of a gut, this thing.
that would be great, ma'am, because I
You
was
can just
thinking
have
of
a look.
mentioning, yeah, just a small diagram or any picture so
Yes.
that
So
we
a
can,
3D effect will
yeah.
solve your
uh,
problem, what you're looking
Okay.
for.
And
Okay?
one thing more, ma'am, this leaky gut, you were mentioning that, uh, yeah, this the tight junctions. Are
Hmm.
these tight
Hmm.
junctions are villi, or we are referring to something else? These tight junctions are intestinal villi.
Yes. Yes. Intestinal
Okay, okay.
villi.
So these intestinal villi, it's the tip of the intestinal villi we are mentioning, or is the what are like they are attached to one membrane. So is it the
Hmm.
gap between the two villi, or it's the
So
tip of the
again,
villi?
I will share that diagram with you.
All right,
Just
all right,
look
all right,
into it. Even
all
I
right.
will look for a small animated video. I found it for the protein also. I want you
Okay,
to see that the both of the videos, and then we will discuss next time.
all right, ma'am.
ठीक है?
All right. Thank you so
चलो,
much. Thanks,
ठीक है.
thanks for
Thank
the
you
class.
so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should